So, hi guys, my name's Hayden Crawford. I'm a wellness coach and spiritual teacher specializing in color therapy and numerology. Welcome to Cosmic Conversations. Today, I have been blessed to have the most beautiful woman grace my presence, called Eden Cos. And she is a psychological empath, an intuitive medium, a meditation master, light worker, starseed like me, and a dimensional energy healer, as well as a great awakening pontificator. I love that word. She's also almost finished writing a very first book as well, the wisdom of just being, and why and how to be calm in these chaotic times. And I think we all need a bit of that, don't we? Because the world has gone crazy, totally bonkers. Now, she also has been producing and hosting her own podcast since January 2022, Just Be Spiritual Boom, where she recently became an anchor on the Grassroots Warrior Network channel on Rumble. So well done to you with that. That's amazing work.
Thank you.
And using Consciousness Mindset Council, God. I love that you're using God because, you know, God is everything. Love language, vibration work, and also energy psychology, meditation, Reiki, the Akashic Records, mindfulness, and other modalities as well. Her methods create unparalleled shifts for her clients via her company Just Be LLC, where she conducts sessions remotely and face to face. Now, finally, in 2017, Eden incurred a stage 4 lung cancer diagnosis that brought about a near-death experience, in addition to 2 years of major recovery and rejuvenation. And really, you know, the focus around today's conversation, I'd really like to be not only about your near-death experience and this everything that surrounded that, because I think people are starting to become a lot more aware of what's next, you know, and asking more questions, and there's much more content out there as well for us to explore this. So I think people are hungry for information, and especially for people who have actually been to the other side and come back with wisdom. But also your book as well, you know, so I want to find out more about that and how it can help and who it can help as we evolve into the new earth energies. So welcome again. It's absolutely a joy to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. How are you? And first question really, I think, would be, who were you before you had your near-death experience?
That's a lovely question. Thank you for that. I know you read my bio, but you also added in wonderful and all these really great things. So thank you so much for that. And then to put it out there, Hayden was on my show, which is how we met. And he's done work with me as well, and because I wasn't familiar, I had never had color therapy done myself. So I got to see that within him. Mine was a very different experience than what you hear typically, and maybe that's changing as well. So it wasn't one of these things where, you know, I wasn't eating well, I didn't exercise, and I, you know, suddenly had this major health thing. So all that had to change. I was incredibly spiritual. I had an incredible faith in God. I just had gone from, okay, so I live in Akron, Ohio. I had a meditation studio and had just gone from one studio to this beautiful, studio, and a meditation studio in Akron, Ohio. That's how it was based. To me, huge deal. Huge. I had people working with me. I had just really, and I had gone from this plaza that was called the Kruger Plaza. Literally, when you think Freddy Krueger, that's what the plaza was like. It was nightmarish 1950s. And I had just secured this place from a client who had basically given it to me for free. No lease, no paying for electricity for 7 months. So I was in partner with someone else. It wasn't working, and then this just opened up. So I'm in this beautiful space. I had people paint the entryway, do art. It was, Hayden, glorious. And I'm leading up to all this. I I sat down with my former husband and my kids at that point and was suddenly like, oh my gosh, I'm doing all this stuff. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what you guys are doing. We need to straighten some of this out because, man, I'm going into the studio. I am full fledged. I am all in. And I remember that time too. They basically said, no, we're going to stay how we are. Good luck, Eden. Go ahead. So I was about 3 months into this glorious new studio, my studio, doing my work, selling things, having people work with me. Monday, the folks that I worked with, we went to do some Reiki and meditation at the school. It was glorious. And suddenly I felt a little dizzy. Within a week, starting that Monday to Friday, I shot downhill to, something's not quite right, to canceling my classes, not being able to get out of bed. And it's really interesting. My husband came to me. Okay, so the start on Monday, by Friday, came to me in the morning. If he had not come to me and gotten me out of bed, we went to a doc in a box, I would have died. I did not care about talking. I did not care about eating. I didn't care about moving. If it had just been me, I would have gone. So anyway, we went to the doc in the box. They said, oh, let's give you this migraine tonic. If you're not feeling better by tomorrow, then you need to go to emergency. Didn't work. Next morning, I slept in a different room from my husband because I was just like, I can't hear anything. I feel so awful. And then I heard him, because he usually gets up early in the morning. So I went down and I basically said, hey, things are not better. So we went to the emergency room. And it was so amazing that day going, there was no one there. Probably took us 5 minutes to get in. And within 30 minutes, there was a diagnosis. There was a lesion on my lung and 3 in my brain. And they were pretty sure at that point that it was stage 4 lung cancer. So here's a woman who ate well, exercise, friggin' meditation teacher, like spiritually, working on calmness, working on being connected, that all of a sudden, within a short period of time, woo! So I remember, because I had a really good foundation. All right, Hayden, you have any questions for me so far? Am I good? Should I just keep pontificating?
I love it.
Okay. Okay. So I remember getting that diagnosis and going, wow, this doesn't quite feel right. And because of everything that I've worked on, I'm not going to get upset about it because it's not 100% confirmed at this point. Everybody pretty much believes that that's what it is. Yet, in a way, I was so excited that there was something wrong with me that clearly said, well, this is why you've been feeling like crap for a week. So I remember I did a video within that and basically going, oh, I just got this diagnosis and I'm okay. And it was seen by so many people because essentially, how can you be feeling this way? You've just been handed this diagnosis that most people after 5 years, only 5% are still living. Mm. And at that time too, my girls, I think, were 12 and 11 years old. So I was still in the middle of being a mom and, having this whole studio. So, all right, the doctors basically said, at this point, we think the best move is, okay, you got 3 lesions in your head, that there's one of them we can tackle. So we're going to go in there and do brain surgery, and we're going to work on pulling that out. Yet, we do not know how this goes. We do not know if you're going to survive from it. We do not know if you're going to be able to walk again, talk again, eat again. We don't know. Are you okay with that? Okay, I guess so. So this was probably, it was about a week or two. Like, you go into the hospital and you have to it's like this waiting game. You have to wait and do this and do this. So finally, I think it had been a week or a week and a half, and we were going into this. So I had that brain surgery, ended up waking up in the hospital in the ICU. I was by myself. And within this, I learned I never wanted to be by myself from this point at night, because that's when things would happen. So I woke up from this brain surgery. I had two, by the way, and I couldn't talk. I couldn't find the button to call a nurse or whatever. And I was just there, kind of groggy, but I was present, and realized that my door to the ICU was open. Okay, and crazy things happen in the ICU, but nothing happened to me the whole time I was in the hospital, which was like a month and a half, but it did that night. So all of a sudden, someone was brought in to this hospital that had just, I don't know, fallen off a ladder or something, quadriplegic. I just know this. There was yelling and crying, someone throwing up, and then there was nursing staff laughing. And then it was like I got this little tap on my shoulder from God. And it was just like, hey, Eden. All right, here you are. Okay, this is life. It's hell and it's heaven, and it's right in front of your face. And you can't stop it. So we're just going to sit here for a second. I'm going to give you this decision. If you want to back out of this and end this right now, you can totally do it. No judgment, no anything. Oh, yeah, is it going to be great over here? So it wasn't, Hayden, this, oh my gosh, this light's coming through and my family's coming through. I was on a podcast one time and he compared it to, do you want hamburger or pizza? I mean, that's pretty much like it was. So you can go. All you have to do is close your eyes. It's going to be easy. And I knew, because I was on this spiritual path, that my family was going to be fine, that I would see my kids, that I would be there. I'd probably be knocking on their shoulders or whatever. I'd see them getting married. It would just be different. Okay. Then you can stay too. Oh yeah. It's going to be challenging. Okay. Because essentially all the answers were not given to me either. Oh, you're going to be fine. Everything's going to be good. Oh, it's going to be challenging. Yet I can tell you this. If you decide that this is the path that you're going to go on, that you're going to stay and you're going to, stay in this body, you will gain a heck of a lot from it. Okay. If you decide to pass, oh yeah, it'll be great. Yet if you decide to stay, you will get more out of it. Yet you have a choice, whatever you want to do. So it was also like I was awake during this, and it was so tangible and so clear. And I decided yes. Okay. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to walk from this. I didn't know what my future, if I was going to be in a wheelchair. I mean, I look back on it and I'm like, oh my God, this was freaking gutsy to say yes and not no, and none of it to be healed, none of it to be. So the part of saying yes to that was, I knew when it was time for breakfast, I was going to eat. Like, food is life. I was ready for food. So there you go.
It's fascinating to hear it, because it was almost like you were, unlike a lot of near-death experiences, you were kind of lucid. You were conscious.
Very conscious. Yes.
Throughout the whole process. So was it almost like
yes.
Your consciousness split? And so you were aware of everything that was going on around you, but you were also aware of another reality that was taking place alongside of that, almost like in a parallel frequency. Is that a good way of explaining it?
I think that's a really good description, because in my work, I connected with God and utilized God and heard from God. Yet this was not that. It was deeper. It was always tangible, yet this was just so, I guess, it's such a great question. It's really hard to describe, but it was so in the moment. It was so tangible, and it was always tangible, but this was just like everything was so visceral, like coming out of the surgery and just hearing things and seeing things. It was like everything was magnified and in my face like it had never been before. And God was in my face like it had never been before. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Ooh,
absolutely. So
that's
do you
good.
feel like it was, part and parcel of the brain surgery that you went through that created this
Ooh.
alternate perception of the reality you were experiencing and made everything amplified? Do you feel like it was maybe the surgery that triggered this expansion of consciousness for you temporarily? And has it gone back to the way it was before? Or was it only a temporary sort of movement into that ethereal space?
It's a really great question. I, because it was a situation, okay, I'm looking off for a second as I contemplate this. As I'd never been in a, I never had surgery. I had my wisdom teeth removed. And I had some endometriosis laser surgery, but I never had real surgery. So to say that that didn't help escalate things, I wouldn't feel that that was completely true. Yet this event was not abnormal in a way, yet it was just heightened. So I still connect to God and work with God, but it had, like most of the time, it is for me, yet it's for my clients as well. But it was so for me this time. I mean, it was just, you can take these paths. What are you going to do? I mean, it was so in my face. It was like I couldn't step out of it. I couldn't look anywhere else. I couldn't go, oh, that God right there. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna do this other thing. It was so in my face and so there that it's really hard to explain. That was a really great question. I don't know how I'm doing at explaining it, but a part of it is it's not explainable.
These things aren't explainable because we're trying to look at it from a human perspective a lot of the time. And of course, when we have um, these out of body or near death experiences, their language doesn't do them justice. It's a
Right.
knowingness, isn't it? It's like an inner knowing and a guidance
Yes.
that was kind of saying, look, Eden, you can either choose to cross over now and that will be fine, and you were shown
Hmm.
that your family would be okay, etc., or you just knew
Hmm.
that everyone would be fine. Um, or you can go back into your physical body and continue your life as Eden cause, and that would be a lot more beneficial. Because I don't know about you, Eden, but I'm a great believer that the choices that we make within our life experience kind of
Yes.
um, especially the good choices that we make, they kind of evolve our learning, and it's always about what we're learning from certain experiences, and I think that's
Hmm.
the real purpose of life. So, by you coming back and deciding to continue your learning, it helps with not only your own personal development, but also
Hmm.
the the universe's expansion as well. And so, how do you feel then that by making this choice to come back and well, to continue in your current life experience, how did you feel, like what happened like after that, and did it take a while before you could fully get back into a functioning body and move properly
Yes.
after your operation? How long did that take? And how did things change after you
Mm.
made that decision to come back?
Hugely. It took 2 years before I was normal again. Normal. The only aspects that I had two craniotomies, and there's more to the story. I was in the hospital for a month and a half, and I don't feel like really going into that, or I don't think that's applicable here. Then when I got home, like literally learning to walk again, I was on a walker. I'm pretty thin. Also, I lost probably 20 pounds. So we're talking high 80s, 90 pounds. I had always exercised in my life. And there was one moment in the hospital that I couldn't move for 7 days. There was a vial of liquid out of my head, which was my brain liquid, that if that moved at all, uh, there's no telling what would happen to me. So I am so again grateful for this meditation because I could sit there for 7 days and not move and be okay. So having the one of the key components of this was I thought that, oh my gosh, you've got the studio, and oh my gosh, you've got people coming, and oh my God, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what, and everything within this said, nope, you got to let it all go. That you think this is where you're supposed to be, and you talk about being the highest good and doing all that, we're going to have to knock you a little bit. There were so many reasons that this happened. One of them was to go, this is not your path. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. Even though you think it is, we tried to tell you it's not. We tried to come in there and you're not listening. So this is going to help you, help you listen. So I had to give that away. And it was like, Hayden, you could probably associate. It was like giving a baby away. I mean, this was what I thought was my dream. This was, but it was not supposed to be. And I totally, totally realized that now. So that was one big thing. The other thing was in terms of faith, I had good faith. If I chose to continue this, not knowing what the outcome was going to be, this is a total challenge in faith. This is not just, this is the marathon. This is, because at that time, I, again, only had one brain surgery. I didn't know how I was going to come out of that. I didn't realize I was going to have another one. I didn't realize that, after coming home, I would have to do all these simple. So some of my therapy was, all right, we're going to show you a clock, and the big hand is going to be pointing to 12, and the little hand's going to be pointing to 3. What time is it, Eden? 3:00. Okay, we're going to say 3 words, and we want you to repeat this. Cow, chicken, pig. Repeat that back. Simple stuff that I could not do. I mean, it was starting from a baseline again and learning who I am now. Okay, so my company name is Just Be. And my mentor, she always laughs. She's like, oh, Eden, you named your company Just Be because that's one of your biggest things to learn how to do. Through this process, there were times I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't talk on the phone. I couldn't use the computer. All I could do was just say friggin', just friggin' be. That's all I could do. Okay. Isn't that magical that it had to be delivered in this package that you don't expect for me to really embody my work? Okay. That was the second thing. What is the third thing? Oh, also, this helped me relate to my clients, to other people. When they come to me telling me they've been, in the hospital, and I tell my story, and they're like, oh my gosh, look at that. Suddenly I'm relatable, and not because I feel things within people, but now there's certain things that you do have to experience. Like I have a special needs child as well. If I didn't experience that myself, I wouldn't truly understand it. I could feel someone else's, stuff with that. Yet now I can pretty much relate to most everything. And that's really pretty priceless when you can have true empathy for someone and know the hardships. And it's so funny, Hayden, I was telling one of my clients today who knows about this, but I went into because she needed to hear the hardship of it. Because a lot of times I talk about, oh, it was so great. And I would do it again. I would. But there were times it sucked. It was hard. And for me to skip diddy doo dah past some of that, that's not fair. It's not fair because it was tough. Yet there was only within all this, I was pretty good spirited about all of it. There was 1 week that within the whole 2 years that I did get depressed because the pain wasn't going away. They gave me the seizure, Western medicine. That's a whole other story. I had to take this seizure medication. And at one point, they switched the medication and it was this stuff that makes you not hungry. Okay. And when I tell people about it, they're like, oh, that would be great if I wasn't hungry. Food is life. When you are not hungry, it is horrible. I can't express. So I wasn't hungry. I started feeling some of this pain. And I was in this spot where, is this ever going to go away? I don't know if I can get through this. How can I get through this? And I did. And oh my gosh, and the antibiotics, you can't control your bowels. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can chat about.
That's a lot of that's a lot. And I admire you so much, Eden, for for
Oh,
kind of saying that you'd go through it all again,
I
even
would.
though it was hard, because
Hmm.
it's brought you to where you are now, and it's almost like sounds like a huge rebirth that you had to go through. And it's so interesting that you felt
Yeah.
like you were already fulfilling your purpose work by working in the meditation center and doing all that
Yes.
beautiful holistic stuff. And yet that was more probably your ego that was connected to that aspect of your work. And
Hmm.
that you were kind of guided then into, by your spiritual team through this experience to move away from that and more into the type of work that you're doing today. Is that how it's changed? So it's still focused around the spiritual work
Yes.
and helping people, but how specifically has your offerings evolved? I mean, obviously you're more empathic towards the people that you work with, and having a disabled
Hmm.
son, and you're able to really feel into what people are going through because you've been through the dark night of the soul. You've had it all
Yes.
thrown at you. So how has it evolved, your work that you're doing specifically?
Let me go ahead and jump ahead a little bit. At the time ago, I started writing my book based on this experience. Then, within the past 3 years, well, there's more to this too, but in the past 3 years, I became aware of this huge great awakening that's going on. And I look at all this like if I had decided to pass, but knowing I'm a starseed too, I wouldn't have known all of this amazing stuff. And that has just blown my evolutionary doors wide open. So that is so wonderful. I would have missed all of the more hardship and more, but it's so glorious. What I what I realized from my work to now was at the time I was spending so much time doing the marketing, paying the rent, doing all these things that don't heal people, that don't help people, managing my people, doing all this stuff. And when I had to drop all of that, it was like, okay, you're going to go back to your house in your own studio, which ego doesn't. Oh, I have my own studio. Yay. You're going to go back to your house. And in doing that, 98% of your effort and your work is going to be on people. And all this other stuff, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. So let all of that crap go and get back to where you're supposed to be. So, yeah, that was the key thing to realize again, you don't need a studio. You don't need, and it doesn't matter how big you are or how well you're received and how you have this, that, oh, suddenly you're respected. How do I respect myself? Okay, it's not out there, it's in here. And if I respect myself, I'm also respecting the people who come to see me, and I'm showing them what it's like to be free, what it's like to feel good about yourself, what it's like to feel good in your work, that I don't have to have all of these things. I thought I did. But God and Spirit said, no, you don't. And through the Great Awakening process and the evolution of that has really, in the past couple years, also, there, and Hayden, you and I talked about this a while ago, this part of, oh, I need to have this many people and I need to have this. And also realizing at this point during this that if you did have a name, that if you people would come to you and be like, and try and keep you down and try and plus the fact that holistic stuff is not viewed as great. So they want to keep Western medicine in there. They want to keep all this holistic stuff down because you're not strong enough. You can't heal yourself. You're not responsible for you. So we're going to give you this medication. You're anxious and depressed. So we're going to put this on you. So you're going to have to be on this medication. And then you need this medication because all the side effects of that medication. Oh gosh, that was a lot. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, it did. I totally understand where you're coming from. So really what you're saying is the way that your work has evolved was by stripping it back to grassroots and having your
There
focus,
you go. That's all I had to say.
I mean, but it was interesting the way you portrayed that, because I think we do busy ourselves. We become busy fools, and we think that in order to be able to really do our work, we've got to do X, Y, and Z. When actually,
Mhm.
the real work is just empathy and kindness, and actually listening and understanding what somebody's going through, and being there to hold their hand through their darkest hours, isn't it? And
Yeah.
on a very individual level as well, which a lot of the time you can't get through. Um, sort of global channels. I mean, it's obviously it dilutes it a lot, but it sounds like the way Eden has evolved through letting go of this, egoic aspect of your personality blueprint, is it's allowed you to be more of the divine light that you
Yes.
truly are. So almost just to simplify and own your truth, as opposed to the illusion of the truth, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. And it was amazing. Before this happened, I was extremely type A. So that's one of the reasons I got into meditation. It wasn't that, oh, I want to do meditation. I just had this was in my late 20s, and I was in advertising at the time, and I was working like a dog. And my two friends basically said, hey, this teacher, she's wonderful. And by the way, it's meditation based. I'm like, oh, okay, but y'all like her. She feels good. And that was the point that really started my transformation and opening up to spirituality, because I was so much a type A. So I've been lessening that desire for control, that ego part. And I would say mostly a desire for control. I've been working on that for years, tears of it coming off, coming off. And I would say even the past couple months, that has taken another dramatic turn. Like I didn't realize also how ingrained it was in me, and just being a faithful person and a God-centered, a source-centered person, and then just with each step moving closer and closer to that, and letting go of control, and within that realizing I have more control than I ever thought, but I have to let go of it. I mean, it's one of these paradigms that is just so confusing, but as you continue to step into it, it all starts to magically unfold. It's
That's right.
crazy,
Yeah, it's
crazy
living
good.
faith. It is. It's a real test as well, because it's a daily
Yes.
almost, because I think as a by human default, we want to try and control the outcomes of things, because we're taught a lot of things through, and even a lot of new age channels, they teach things like the law of attraction, and that we've got to, be
Yes.
very on it, visualizing what we want, and, know what we want. And, of course, all of that, is a form of action, and it's a form of trying to control, the sort of the things that you get, when really we know that God has a much bigger plan in store for us. And sometimes by kind of letting go of your limited expectations of what you can achieve, something much bigger comes along for you by default. So I always say that the universe doesn't know the difference between a castle and a button. So you really do just have to hand it over, and let your team decide what's right for you right now, but also the people that are in your immediate vicinity, and the people that are coming to you as well. So I guess that I would just like to, before because I want to find out a little bit more about what being a great awakening pontificator actually is, because I know that you've mentioned this throughout, the conversation so far, this awakening that you experienced that you wouldn't want to miss out on, and you're glad that you came back for, and
Hmm.
decided to continue, in this human, meat suit. So what is it? How specifically did your awakening experience change your perspective on the matrix? The the kind of projection of reality that
Yes.
we see. How did it change?
Uh, so being very spiritual, I mean, it's kind of like a division right now. You can be very spiritual, then you can be very spiritual and see everything that's going on, because there is a lot. And it can, and it has, for me, it can strike every chord within your body, because basically so much of our world is not true and what we believe to be true. It, oh gosh, Hayden, I think you're going to have to ask me that question again.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is like,
Oh,
go on.
yes. Okay. So when I started to discover this, I'm going to close my eyes for just a second and really feel it. I can't shut up about it. I think, like, I feel that part of my path here isn't to wake people up. I mean, because you can't wake people up, yet to talk about it and to talk about the positivity of it, where, because it can really get you down. I mean, there have been times when I've cried when I found out certain things that I thought were true, and people that I thought were genuine, and the parts of the earth that are just like, oh, really? And then there's more, and then there's more. I feel like my role is to see it, to be okay with it, to neutralize it, and to bring this passion of what this really means. Okay, it looks ugly and it looks dark and, and evil, but y'all, we're all of that stuff. We're not separate from it. I am evil. I am Satan. I am God. I am, wow. What? This is freaking mind blowing. I just want to talk about it to everybody. And I want to bring people on the podcast so we can talk about it. And within the podcast, too, it isn't all like, oh, yay for us. We're going, hey, let's talk about this really. How did you feel about it? How did this make you feel? Was this hard? How are you doing with it? Okay, let's talk. And most people are holistic practitioners. Okay, so what are you doing in your practice now? Let's talk about that. What are you seeing? It's just this and I can say this now because we just kind of turn this page into the age of Aquarius, that it is this point where there can just be this breath and just like, oh my God, we're on our way. We we're doing it now. We are evolving. We are in. I get so passionate about this, Hayden. I just can't. I get tearful. It is so emotional, and it is so wonderful that I cannot not be a part of it. I bring it into my work. I bring it into everything I do, regardless of your level. I know how to approach it. If you're not, like, I talk to a lot of people, like I have people that come into me that are born again Christians and all that. I can talk to them. It's just, it's incredible. And I'm so thankful that I'm alive for this shit. This good, amazing shit stuff. I'm so grateful.
Oh, that's beautiful. Do you know what? And
Jeez.
I feel your emotion there because we are,
Uh,
we've chosen to be here during this amazing, transition as we evolve into the golden age, the new earth and the new dawn on the planet where we are activating our, divine 12-strand DNA, accepting our multi-dimensional consciousness and being able to perceive realities that once existed beyond the much thicker veil. And I think that it is beautiful knowing that that we're here to do that, and that you chose to come back for it. It's glorious. So I can see how that being in the third dimension as we move into the fourth and fifth is just as rewarding for you then for you crossing over into the heavenly realms and kind of just chilling out with your dead rallies for a while.
and this essentially, Hayden, this is just like crossing over, because we are moving into heaven on earth. I mean, it's the same thing,
Same thing. Yeah.
except this was a little bit harder. Yet it's the same thing. Ooh.
Yes. It's interesting that you mentioned as well that we are, you know, both the dark and the light. And I think that
Yes.
that's one of the most important things to remember, that it's not to run from the darkness. I'd spent years doing that myself, as I, was going through my own kind of series of mini awakenings. I ran a lot away from my shame, And it was something that I couldn't even look at. It was like, oh, I've got to just turn the other cheek. But when you realize actually you've been all things, and you've because we're ancient immortal beings of like living out temporary
Mhm.
human experiences. So we've been the betrayer as well as the betrayed. We've been the abuser as
Oh
well as
yeah.
the abused. We've done all of that. We are all of that. So okay, just get okay with it. What did you learn from it? Move on.
Right.
Isn't it? Instead of
Right.
holding on to all this guilt that was kind of thrown onto us through the Catholic Church and through more kind of like old school religion and everything. Because I mean, it was okay for the time, and a lot of people got a lot of out of it. And I've got nothing really against religion as such,
Right.
probably like you, but it's just kind of a bit outdated now. It's like it's aimed at keeping people in fear
It's
and
all about control.
all about control, which is your thing,
Mhm.
isn't it?
It is my thing.
So does all of this sort of stuff come up in the book that you're writing, the wisdom of just being?
Yes.
Do you really highlight a lot of this wisdom that you're talking
Yes.
about now?
Yeah. So I started writing the book because of the near death experience and the health challenge. And then when I started realizing about the world, I was like, oh my gosh, my book is so minuscule at this point. Who's going to care about me having this health thing? So I abandoned it for a while. And then um oh, and I had one. Okay, so I had an editor that I was working with, and I decided, okay, now I'm going to blend this all together. So my near death experience does have value. My life has value, and look at where we are right now. And suddenly I'm like, oh my gosh, my whole life has led up to this moment. So I'm going to start putting this in the book and make the book about the great awakening and how you can be calm during these chaotic times. Because I was in an extreme event and I was calm and oh, I have a special needs daughter. And oh gosh, there's way more I can. And I just started writing all this. And it was interesting when I sent it to my editor goes, what's this? Um, I don't get it. I can't be your editor anymore. So I was like, okay, let me back off of this. Let me sit on it for a while because I just lost my editor. I didn't quite know what to do. So in the process of this podcast, uh, Lynn Everard was one of my guests, and turns out he was an editor. And I felt like I needed to chat with him after the show, and I did. And he goes, Eden, you need to write this book. You need to write this book because he also knew about the Great Awakening, everything that was going on. And okay, so we agreed he was going to be my editor, and I started writing again. He passed away. And that's a whole other interesting story. So then I needed to find someone else. And it was the same guy. I desire to connect with someone. They need to know on some expanse what's going on in this world so they can understand what I'm writing about. And I just found this person recently. Yet Lynn, bless his soul, I know he is helping me from the veil, that he is all here. He's my biggest cheerleader, and just connecting with him and feeling that energy with him going, you got to do this. You got to get it out there. So I think with not meeting him, I wouldn't have picked this back up again. And so, yeah, it's about the whole entirety of my life. And it's so perfect at how all of it, I look at it and go, oh my gosh, it all fits now. It all makes spiritual sense why I went through this and why I went through this. And I'm going to share it all with you. So I'm not just sitting here again, just talking this, talking that. No, I experienced it and I was this and I felt this. And oh my gosh, here you go. So it's almost like delivering another baby, yet I'm not, as I'm like in so many things in my work, like I'm not attached to anything anymore. Like if this book doesn't come to me, I'm okay. Even though I spent many years of my life now getting through it, and yeah, it's all okay. And regardless of anything that happens, we're all okay. We're good. If I kick the bucket after our show tonight or this morning for you, that's okay. It's all good.
It's the process, isn't it? That's the most important thing. It's that catharsis that
Yes.
you go through in recognizing and acknowledging that everything that's gone before you has shaped you into the person that you are today. And in some way, you just genuinely hopeful that that's going to benefit and help guide somebody on their journey as well as they go through that awakening process. So,
Mhm.
it's, and I know it's taken you about, sort of 5 years or longer, hasn't it, to sort of get to this point where
Yes.
it's the same with mine. I just
Yeah.
literally published mine in January, and it was, it's taken me probably over 5 years to kind of get to the point where I'm ready to go, yeah, okay, that can go out to a few people. And, it's really like, I'm not doing the whole paperback thing, putting it on Amazon, because for me, that's not the important aspect of doing it. It's more about, okay, so here's an ebook. It's easy for people to be able to look at and read. It's cheap, and it might help, even if it helps one person. I'm hoping
Right.
that when I get my life review, when I have my NDE, that it comes up as like, well, Hayden, this is how you've helped a few people. You've upset a lot of people, but you helped a few people with what you did there. So I'm actually looking for
Oh,
brownie points, really, I think.
yeah. I've upset a lot of people too.
Are you looking for brownie points as well?
Mm-mm. No, no more. I think this is part of the process too, where you get like this is to really be someone who can facilitate and help others. It's like you care, but you don't. You love them, yet you're not there to heal them because the ego that's attached to that, oh, I'm going to be your healer and your fixer. I am just going to be here for you. I'm going to hold the space for you. And I'm going to tell you stuff because I'm a rebel. I'm a warrior. I'm here to do this work. I'm not here to waste time. I am here to do this, to be this voice, to be strong. And all of this stuff has happened to make me strong, to make me have this stronger voice. And it's so awesome, Hayden. Now I don't really care how many clients I have. And I'm feeling just like you with this great awakening. Things are really gonna kick up a notch. That's great. Where before I've been like, oh my God, when's this gonna happen? When? Yeah, all right. I'm ready for whatever.
So
Here I
who's
am.
who's your book for? Is there a particular target audience in mind for it, or is it just for everyone?
I I anyone who's struggling because it isn't you get my book and oh I'm going to go down the rabbit hole and tell you this and tell you that. I am going to go from a 3D 5D. I think a lot of people can relate to something like that. So it's saying, hey, this is why you're feeling this way, this is what's going on, this is what's going on in the earth. Okay, because I've had these experiences, I can help you balance it out. Okay. It's not the end of the world. This, again, just like I talked about with the podcast, it's positive. It's all going to be good, even if this looks like crap, even if this is hard. And there might be people that pick up the book too that are just like they've given up on God. They've given up. I feel this is a big one too, given up on God and given up on faith. And I also believe in the Great Awakening that this is a battle for your soul. So getting back to connected to God, feeling that you're not alone, feeling that you're not lonely, that you're not by yourself in this. There's this book that goes, I'm not seeing you face to face, yet I see you. You're going to be okay. I got you. I understand what you're going through. Talk to me. And even in the book, I have exercises where you literally talk to me, which is so funny. But I know that I will feel it and hear it. I'll be there.
I love that, and
Yeah.
I also love
Oh,
what
thank
you
you.
just said about people have forgotten the truth of God, through
Yeah.
different texts that have been written and altered by people depending on
Yep.
the political viewpoints and all the rest of it at certain times. But the truth behind a lot of religions is this whole notion of God, which really is just everything. It's the love, the divine love that sits behind. It's almost like the construct, the truth that holds everything together. And I think a lot of people, as we really separated from um, unity consciousness, we got
Yeah.
more and more into separation. We forgot that actually, that's the glue that binds it all together, and to remind people that we are divinely loved and supported every single moment of the day, and all you have to do really is ask for help and assistance, and you'll have that there for you. It's an amazing knowingness It's like it shifts everything because
Yes.
we're never alone. We're never alone. So that in itself
Yes.
is very powerful work, helping people to realize the truth. I was thinking about this the other day actually, and I was
Yeah.
thinking, I've always known ever since I was a kid that God wasn't behind the beard, in the sky, and that it was the white light, this vibrant, beautiful white light of divine love that we all came from and that we all are a part of and that we're all returning to, which is our home. I've always known that. And I think with a lot of children as well, especially empathic children, it gets drilled out of them, as they grow up and they go through school and, they're taught different things and they forget, and then you end up believing other things as, you're taught new ways of perceiving the reality that we experience. So, it's going back to sometimes the innocence of the child and the knowingness that we come in when we're a baby. That we come in with nothing, we go out with nothing. We're innocent when we come in, and hopefully we're innocent when we go out as well.
There are two things I like to talk about quickly. So it was really interesting. I'll just get this background for a second because I feel this is important when we talk about God and source. So I was born in South Georgia, USA, religious. My parents didn't go to church. Okay. I felt like the biggest heathen. I pedaled on a bike to go to church. I started reading the Bible myself because I'm like, how can I not have faith? How can I not believe in these things? And I started reading the Bible, and there was talking about women as being whores, and then there was all this violence and destruction. And I was like, oh my God, I thought God was supposed to be non-judgmental and good. This just does not feel good to me. And then this church that I was going to, it was very cliquey because my belief was, oh God, we all love each other. And it was not that experience at all. So when I abandoned this, it was so horrible because where's God? There is no God. I don't understand my place in this. I don't understand why I don't have faith. I don't understand why none of these things are working out. So when I started doing meditation, kind of like this stage 4 cancer had to hit me over the head, same thing. I was not going to believe in God. God had to come in one of my meditations, same thing, hit me on the head for me to believe. I mean, it wasn't this, oh, I was just born into this and I just expanded it. I had nothing. I tried to find it. I could not. And then suddenly it appeared, appeared, appeared. Now, I wanted to ask you, Hayden, I believed that there was more to this earth than just us being on this planet. Yet in the past 3 years, and learning about star season and I took a galactic Akashic Records class, mind blown. I I had never explored this. I had never gone into it. Now I'm just like, oh, we so big, so big. When did you know that there was way more to the galaxy and to this earth?
I think again, I've really always known,
Oh,
um,
shucks.
but
Wow.
it was reconfirmed to me um, probably about 8 years ago when I think I
Oh,
told you this in our last conversation. I was told in the middle of the night that
yes. Yes.
and I
That's
literally
crazy good.
was like, I mean, I've always been interested in the cosmos, but I didn't know all the different constellations and galaxies and stuff. I wasn't that into it. But now, through my researching and finding out my Andromedan origins, I know a lot about not only our solar system and the Milky Way, but also others as well. So I'm very much a seeker of truth, and I'm really hooked into cosmic consciousness now specifically, and I think that
Me too.
it's the vastness that you talk about. is incredible because it's, God isn't just connected to humanity. It's God is connected to all things and everything. So all different planetary
Right.
systems and different types of light beings, and this whole fear mongering around the galactics. The Galactic Federation of Light are part of the Ministry of Angels, and they work with the Ascended Masters and the Archangels. So of course, they're not separate. The illusion is everything is separate. Everything and everyone, all of them work together for the betterment of this planet, but for the evolution of the universe and universes.
Right.
So it's all about love. Even the reptilians and some of the greys and the lower dimensional entities are on their own path of evolution. So it's all okay, and all of it
Yeah.
again is evolving into higher and brighter forms of light and love. Of course, there's always got to be the dark, because otherwise we wouldn't appreciate the light. So I think that's where a lot of the fear has come in from, the cosmic aspect of consciousness. Is the fear that they're going to come to the earth and destroy us because of the movies and the films that we see,
Yeah.
that go right back, to when films started. Like, those, what was it called, the tripod people, and that. Oh, I can't even remember what they were called. Like, but it's been drilled into our subconscious that anything that's external to the earth is bad and it's out to get us, but actually it's the reverse of that. And we've got to start
Yeah.
accepting that we are a hybrid alien race ourselves anyway. We've been seeded by the Arcturians and the Pleiadians and the Lyrans during times of Atlantis. And so actually, our DNA is akin to gods within our own right, and we're awakening back to our Christ consciousness, our ability to be able to perceive ourselves as gods
Yes.
once again. So
It's so fun to talk about and
yeah,
to state out loud that it's happening right now. Come on. That's
it,
awesome.
it's amazing, and it's so it's just it brings you a sense of truth and joy. I think that's what it is. It's like, wow, is this thing that we're a part of really so vast and so beautiful and so
Gosh.
expansive and so loving, and it is, yeah, you're right, we are a part of this awakening, and this part of this change, this shift that's taking place. And we are the forefront, at the forefront of it. We're the pioneers, really.
And for you, like being, I can't tell you how many times I was called a devil worshiper or a cult leader. So it's so funny now to be, oh, I was on the forefront of it all the time, even though I didn't know that I was, and I was pushed down, and this ugliness was given to me, and now it's like, oh, it's good. Thank you for calling me that, because that really wasn't what I was, but it didn't make me doubt myself and make me look down. But now I'm good. You can call me whatever you want. Yet I know me, and I'm good, and you're good. Even if you call me things, I love you. It's so freeing. It's so good. And Hayden, I don't know about you too. So I started speaking light languages a while back, but much more now. And there are some, like today, crazy. Like I had one of my clients on the table. I'm like, okay, you're good with this. I know you're good with this, because I have to tell you this, because it's going to be a little weird even for me. And then just the beings that I'm seeing and connecting with, there's so friggin' many. Like, to go, I don't know where you're from. I don't know. Just come on, let's go. It's just great. It's great.
It's great, and it's interesting to hear that your editor, were sort of turned her back on the
Oh yeah.
contents of your book. Would that be because of her belief systems about, it being connected to demonic practices, do you think? Did you
I
ever find
think
out what was going on there?
it was, oh, okay, let me recall it exactly. But it was something about, I don't know if it was about how we're all one. She was of the Jewish faith, and she brought up some times when she was really hurt by that. And I can't remember exactly, but something about that we're not all the same. We're not all together. We're not all one. That threw her off. And then I did talk a little bit. Oh gosh, I didn't get specific about things, but oh man, we're going through some political stuff, and financial systems are crumbling down. I'm sure she looked at that and she was like, oh. But I think it was more about being this separateness. Yes, we are separate. Well, I'm this, and I was criticized for this, and I can't be. It was, and the funny part was I paid for her to say no to me. So I paid to have that session where she read everything and then said no.
It's interesting, obviously, just where she was at on her, on her journey, and her, it didn't resonate, so she probably
Mm-mm.
couldn't put her effort into something that just felt so disconnected from where she was at. And hopefully, she
Yes.
gets to the point where, that, she might even one day read your book and actually take it all on board and love it.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Because she was such a great person and really got me feeling more confident about writing. So I have such gratitude for her and not continuing with me, because that really helped me step it up, helped me find someone else, find faith within myself. So again, all part of the process, even though I was like, oh shoot, where do I
You're
go from here?
absolutely right. These people come in because they inspire you to kind of find different ways of being able to get your voice
Mhm.
out and your message out into the world. And they're always playing their role beautifully. I always say that, that
Yes.
everyone that comes into your life has signed a contract that says whatever it takes, I'll help you to heal. And of course, they play that role really, really well in a lot of cases,
They
don't
sure
they?
do.
Even if
Yes.
they have to present
Yes.
themselves as a blockage to getting your message out. The most important thing is that you get um, all of this beautiful wisdom out into the world. So I'm going to be super excited when your book is actually published and actually,
Thank you. Me too.
through. Yeah. Now,
Oh my gosh. I'm
I
gonna have a
do have some
party.
questions for you as well, Eden. I
Yeah.
just want to go back to the near-death experience that you had, because just to bring a little bit more clarity into that for the people that are watching, that maybe have an awareness of what traditionally happens during a near-death experience, that what what other people would experience would be a state of maybe coming out of their body, looking down at their body, and then maybe a white light appearing, or a portal or a tunnel that then draws them down, and they might feel the presence of an angelic being that comes to support them and takes them through, and then they may experience going into the void for a while, which is that rich blackness, and then they may find that they go into a garden and have a life review, etc., etc. So it normally follows a bit of a pattern like that for a lot of
Hmm.
cases. People who have near-death experiences have very, very similar sequence of events that takes place, whereas yours was very much more aligned with what I would call it's almost like a split consciousness that took place, that maybe some of the people who go into assisting near-death experiences, or people crossing over, have this altered perception, where they can see their life as it is, as their human form, but also they can become aware of the presence, the omnipresence of God around them as well. Was there at any point during your kind of experience of God that you felt the presence of the angels, or guides around you, or um, did you did you see or feel this sense of divine love?
Yes. And it needed for me. to be without all the bells and whistles. Let me think about that for a second, because I don't want to, I'm not saying this to discount anybody else's experience. Mine needed to be, okay, what are you going to do? We're not going to fancy it all up for you. We're just going to present it how it is. What do you want to do? Yet there was this, you just know that you're in a divine presence. I mean, that you are, when you are given a decision like that, and it is so non judgmental, that you are being held in the spot of beauty and love. And I could just close my eyes and pass away. I mean, it would have been that simple. I picture it like just whoop, and within seconds, I'm gone. So easy, so beautiful, bringing you both of the, oh. And if it was probably too fanciful for me, or too, I probably, I would have chosen to leave. Like if I, saw all these angels and that, oh yeah, let's do that. Where I had to be, here you are in the hospital room. See all this that's right in front of you. Okay, we're going to give you an option to choose that. You have to see it. You have to be here to see it. So yeah, it's not a normal near death experience, yet it was that.
Exactly, and
How
I
was
think
that?
that's what I wanted to hear from you. Really, was the fact that if you'd had all this elaborate,
Mm-mm.
sort of show with all the
I'd
angels,
have gone.
you'd have gone. Yeah,
I
based
would
on
have.
probably your personality would have gone. Okay, shiny and sparkly over there. I'm heading over that way. Whereas this was a very right. Okay, all I have to do is make a decision. I'm going to get more out of staying. So it maybe appealed to your logical mind. It's like, yeah, I'm staying. I'm staying put.
And I had to see what I was choosing to stay with. I mean, it wasn't like you have to see it. You have to hear it. You have to be here in it. We're not going to let, the doors open for a reason. So to really make sure, if you decide to stay, what choice you are making. Because I know it's beautiful. I feel it every day. Like I knew that part of it. I knew heaven. I knew however you want to describe. Even if I didn't see it presented to me, I knew it. This part right on earth, that had to, again, hitting me in the face, going, here it is. We're going to be crystal clear with you. So when you make your decision, you're going to know exactly, well, not exactly but this is it. We're not playing games here. We're not being dishonest. We're not showing one thing. We're showing you everything. And we're just going
Then,
to make sure this is
well,
clear for you.
you had this diagnosis with the stage 4 cancer on your lungs
Mhm.
before we went into the podcast today, and you said
Yeah.
that actually that that it was a misdiagnosis in the end. You found out, yeah.
So they said like we're like 99% sure this is what it is. And it wasn't until probably because they had to oh, what's it called when they take a snap snap of it and then they put it in a little petri dish and it has to grow until it tells
Biopsy.
you yeah, so the biopsy. um so I don't know how many weeks at this point we went along with, stage 4 cancer. Have you ever smoked, Eden? I don't know how many times I had that. No, I've never smoked. I don't smoke because I think like 95% of people that have lung cancer, like a huge percentage, have smoked. So then the petri dish came back and it was like, oh my gosh, this isn't stage 4 cancer. We think it's this. Well, that was not what it was. And then another one, well, we think it's this. There were 4 diagnoses until it came back that it was some bacteria that I breathed in through my lung. And I'm the only person, I think, especially in America, that it broke the brain blood barrier and went up into my head. And isn't that interesting too? There were 3 lesions in my head. And at the time, everything I focused on was mindfulness and the mind uh, and wouldn't you know, that's where I got my little thingies. So yeah, even and it might have even been, and we talked about this specifically, maybe I did have stage 4 lung cancer in the beginning, but through this period of time and opening my eyes, that it evolved as well into something else. I don't know. It's all just quite wonderful to speculate about.
I think you're right. Yeah, it does feel like there was a divine intervention taking place with that maybe mutated things and changed it. Um, and just helped you not have that, as part of
Mhm.
this whole experience that you had. So it's interesting. So
Yep.
I guess that my last question to you today
Yeah.
is like, what do you actually believe is your purpose now as you move forward? Do you think you have a purpose? Um,
Hmm.
how would you put that?
Yep. Put it in one word. Well, three words. Uh, to be happy.
Hmm,
That's
beautiful.
it. It's not, oh, you have to have this many number of clients and you have to do this with your work. Are you happy? Yeah.
So happiness is
Can I
the
have more clients? Yeah. That's the key. That is the key. And if I am happy, I'll probably have more clients or have the perfect clients or none of these numbers or anything matter. It's just connecting to that joy and connecting to that happiness. And that is the great awakening as we move into love and happiness. So that's what I am trying to do right now. And being on your show, Hayden, has just made me very happy as well. So you are helping me move and be in my purpose. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yay.
Well, it's a joy talking with you again today, Eden, and I wish
Yes.
you all the success
Thank
in the
you.
world with your incredible new book, which sounds amazing. It just genuinely
Thank
sounds like
you.
it's going to help so many people. And with the work that you do, on the planet, helping people to become, more aware of the truth of what's going on and connecting back up to God. So, yeah, big love to you, Eden.